Okay, we are going to talk about the new API that we have launched. So there's two spots that you're going to go to find your API. You're probably going to, when you log in, you'll be sent either to the inbox page where it just shows replies or up in your campaigns tab. And so what you're going to want to do is navigate to your profile settings, then go over to integrations. This is where you're going to see your own username's public API key. Now this is unique to every user of Pitchit. So if you have 6 different team members in your team member section, right? Remember that each of them will have their own unique public API key. If you want to pull it for building integrations to send leads to Pitchit, then you'll just copy this API key. And inside of our API documentation, we have a section for the public API docs to explain how we effectively can receive payloads. And what you'll use this particular API key for is to send leads to already existing workflow campaigns, right? That is the most likely thing that you will be doing with the public API key. And I think the best place to go to learn how to do that, again, is inside of our public API documentation that we have. Now you can go to pitchit.ai/API to view that. The other thing that we've launched is our webhooks. And so the webhooks are going to be a little bit different. API is for sending data to us, basically to add leads to campaigns. But the webhooks are to get data out of Pitchit after Pitchit has executed a campaign sequence for a lead. So this is a little different. If you want to create one, click Create New. It'll automatically toggle it to being on. You can turn that off if you want. If you just want to launch it paused and turn it on later. I'm going to name this one something simple. Let's pick a trigger. So there's basically 5 different ones. I'm going to choose Meeting Booked, and I'm going to call the webhook name Meeting Booked, right? Just really simple. The final part here is it's going to ask for a URL to send the data to. And this is what you would have, like a catch-hook URL somewhere inside of your system of record where you want all meeting book events and the data associated with the meeting booked event to be stored. Now, I'm going to do a really quick example. Every one of your systems of record will be a little different on how you can find your URL. But in Zapier, they've got a really easy one called Webhooks by Zapier, and it lets you basically create a catch-hook URL really quick. And I'm just going to do that for the purposes of this demo. But I would imagine you're going to be using a system of record like a CRM or a database or some kind of custom application of your own. And so you're probably not going to use Zapier for this. But for the purposes of this demo, it does let me build a really quick API URL that I can use to catch this data coming from Pitchit. Now, I'm not going to put authentication on this because, again, it's just a demo, but you could add a key and a value to at least make it more secure, and so that the people who are basically, so that we're sending data to you, that it can actually pass like a value so that you know that it's authorized to send data to your system. You do have the option to send to either add it to headers or query params. Again, for the purposes of this demo, I'm going to make this simple. I'm not going to use auth because I'm just sending myself data. And then the final bit is we choose which campaigns. So you definitely, as I'm in the super admin account right now, and so what that means is I have access to every campaign ever made by any team member. And so I could have all meeting book insights from all campaigns show up at this webhook URL in the moment that it occurs from this point forward, right? It won't historically retroactively go back and post everything to the webhook URL, but from the moment I click save forward, it will, and it would come from all campaigns. But if you don't want to do that and you just want to select, a couple dozen or so specific campaigns to send this data back to, then you can select individual campaigns. So I'm just going to do one specific campaign for today's demo. Actually, I'm going to do all because I do want some data to show up in the webhook, and I'm going to click save, right? So this basically is now waiting, listening to any meeting events that would get booked, and you can click on it and you can always like view what those settings were in the future if you ever forget, or you can turn it on or off here, right? I'm going to keep it on, and we do allow you to basically edit the details of it. And if you make a change like this, you can save. Again, I don't need to actually make a change, so I'm not going to save anything here. And I'm just going to go back to the screen we're at now, and it tells you the status is that it's generally working. I'm going to send a really quick test, right? And so that should now show up inside of the URL where I have it catching, and it looks like it caught one. I'm going to do a quick find new records and see if I can pull it. And then I'm going to continue. This is where you would like go and do something with it, right? So this is where our demo is going to end, because I'm not going to actually build anything with this particular webhook. But the point is that that is effectively how you would create one really quickly and send it to your system of record. Now, if you want documentation on webhooks, we also have webhook documentation here on the same exact URL, pitchit.ai/API, and we break down each of the triggers. So I only created one for meeting booking, but I'm going to do one here. I'm just going to use the same URL. I'm going to call this recipient priority, right? And I'm going to get rid of the API key, and I'm going to choose all campaigns, and I'm going to click save. So you can imagine that I would just create one for all of our triggers. Recipient insights, same URL, no auth, all campaigns. And then we've got two more. We've got pitch sent. I'm going to call this pitch sent, right? I'm going to choose the URL, no authentication, all campaigns. And then I'm going to do one more, which is reply received. Reply received, put my URL, no auth, all campaigns. Cool. So this basically is all of the different types of data you could theoretically export from our system. And this documentation explains what that data is going to look like in what the payload is going to look like in the webhook. So we break down recipient priority, and so this would be what comes from this webhook, right? Then we break down pitch sent, and so that's what will be coming from this webhook. Then we break down reply received, and that's what's going to come from this webhook. Then we go into meeting booking, and that is what will come from this webhook. And then the final bit, pitch recipient insights updated, and that is what is going to come from this webhook. And what I will very briefly explain this, we do have really nice descriptions here, but basically the pitch recipient insights is going to tell you if the lead was engaged, hot, warm, cold, why we think they were hot, warm, cold. It's going to basically show the dispositioning in a summary of that particular attempt to contact that lead. The meeting booking, it's going to tell you that the meeting was booked, what time it was booked, their name, their email, their phone number, the time zone, a link to their calendar invite, and then who owns the calendar. The reply received, it's going to show you the actual copy of what they said in their reply, plus their contact, like their PII, name, phone number, email, etc. The pitch sent, it's going to tell you when Pitchit has actually contacted this lead on your behalf in an outbound motion. We will have all PII, so name, phone number, email, but we'll also have campaign name, what text was actually sent in the pitch, and the specific channel that it was sent on. And then the final bit, priority update. So this is going to show you what channel they were on, their PII, email, phone number, and then the priority from like high, cold, warm, hot, right? So like what is the priority for your sales team to get in touch with them? Now that's this part, like the priority is similar to insights. However, the difference is we are not just going to say high priority, which is what we say in the priority update, right? We also give you the reason why. So it'll say high priority because, right, they asked about pricing or they said they wanted to meet with you, etc. And so this pitch recipient insights update, I consider to be like a full dispositioning of that attempt versus the priority update. That's just the lead score. And the reason we need those both on separate payloads is because inside of CRMs, you might want to take all hot leads from Pitchit and change their status to hot inside of your CRM, right? But you might want to know why it's hot, and that might be something where you like post a note in your CRM with the explanation of why it was marked as hot. And so that, long story short, that's why we separated the two, etc. So that is at least the conclusion of the API walkthrough. We do have a little bit more here, so like showing you the exact steps on how to get here. So obviously you're watching this video, so this will be a little bit less helpful. But long story short, if you need to forward this link to someone and they're not going to be watching the video, we do break this down in paragraph format with screenshots on how they can create webhooks so that they don't necessarily have to watch this video and they can still set it all up. So again, pitchit.ai/API is where you'll go for all the docs. This video is going to show you the walkthrough on how you can create them all. And in just a few minutes, we created 5 webhooks and found our public API key. Thanks.